Good morning, everybody. It's Pastor Tony at Northside Church with our Timeless Words, Timely Wisdom, week of August 4th. This week I've been reading in Romans and wanted to talk a little bit about it because a couple things really stood out to me. In Romans chapter 2, it's talking about God's righteous judgment, not a particularly pleasant subject for us to talk about. But there's a passage, a verse, verse 5, but because of your stubbornness and your repentant heart, you are storing up wrath against yourself. And when I read that verse, I thought, that's exactly the opposite of that verse that a lot of people are familiar with, which is in Luke chapter 12 that says, provide purses for yourself that will not wear out, a treasure in heaven that will never fail. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So as I read this passage from Romans, just in my daily reading and storing up wrath against ourselves, I thought to myself, what am I storing up? Am I letting wrath and anger overcome my life at times so that the treasures that I'm holding on to are treasures of anger and bitterness? Or am I storing up treasures that go before me into heaven? Those treasures of not just, how I deal with my possessions. Do I share those with other people? But do I share love with other people? Do I care about other people? And so it's a big contrast to me, and it's a big question for all of us. What kinds of treasures are we storing up? Are we letting anger carry us? Are we getting carried away with anger, or are we carried away with love, which is much more important? So we all have treasures, and people can look at our treasures, the things that we treasure, and know where our heart is. As Christians, they should see our treasures and say, that person treasures love more than anything else. And don't we all need that? The world is in dire need of a lot more of that than the anger that so many of us can hold on to sometimes, the wrath that we can hold on to. And the deeper message in Romans is that God knows where our heart is. And if we're storing up anger and wrath and kind of keeping an account in the back of our minds about people that, things that have happened to us that we need to extract revenge for, then God looks at that. And God doesn't really like that. God wants us to be loving and forgiving, and that we take care of each other, and that even if hurt comes our way, that we don't hold on to it, and that we seek forgiveness and reconciliation in that case. So I suspect in your life there is a time where there is a time today or sometime in the not too distant past where you've been tempted to store up some anger or wrath. And I just pray that we all find a better way, that we store up those treasures for heaven, which are treasures of love. So I hope that might encourage you a little bit in the week to come and give us maybe a little pause when things don't go our way, that we look to the way of love instead of some other way. So hope that is a good word, and I hope that means a little something to you today. We're going to talk a little bit more about that on Sunday, and we invite you to come to Northside and hear that deeper discussion where Jesus is usually found. Have a good week, guys.